As a future college student, I'm going to be in college pretty soon. Not really living on my own in a dorm, but without my parents around, what kind of insurance would you advise me to look into?
Well, it's certainly a smart college student to be thinking about insurance. What you should do is talk to your parents and get in touch with their homeowner's insurance company. Generally speaking, whatever coverage they have on their home or apartment is going to apply in the dorm. But not all insurance companies will provide that kind of coverage. So you want to find out how much coverage they have and whether or not you'll need to buy a supplemental policy or not. Regardless of how you insure your possessions, it's very important that you make a list of everything you're taking away to college. That way, if there's a theft, fire, or other disaster, you have a list of everything you have, and it'll make it a lot easier to substantiate that loss.
I'm a driver here, so but I probably won't be taking my car to college. So what would happen with the insurance on that if I'm going to be leaving it here with my family?
If you're going away to college at least 100 miles away from home, and you're leaving your car in your parents' driveway, you actually have good news to tell your parents because they will save money on their auto insurance. Most auto insurance companies will give a sizable discount to students who leave their cars at home because you're simply not around to drive the car.
I'm wondering if when I rent a car, should I be interested in the additional insurance they offer through the rental company, or should I be interested in some other kind of coverage?
Before you get to the rental car counter, you should make 2 phone calls. One is to your auto insurance carrier, and the second is to the credit card you're going to be using to charge the rental car. What you want to find out is what coverages you currently have, and then what coverages you might need to purchase at the car rental counter. One thing people need to note is that car rental companies recently have instituted a number of fees. One is for loss of use, and that means if you get into an accident or the rental car is stolen, they might charge you for the amount of time that they were not able to rent that car. And the second is they are starting to charge administrative fees. For those 2 types of loss, that would be covered under the collision damage waiver. So you want to specifically think about that when you rent a car.
Well, my neighbor has a tree that I'm actually pretty worried about. If that tree falls on my house, who's responsible for fixing the damage?
If there's a tree that you believe is posing a danger to you or your property, it's very important you talk to your neighbor and see whether you can work out some sort of situation to prune that tree so it does not pose a danger. But one thing to keep in mind is that under standard homeowners insurance, you are covered for trees that hit your property. And insurance companies don't care whether it's on your property or that tree comes from 20 blocks away. If it falls on your house, you're going to be covered for the damage that that tree does to your house, damage that that tree might do to your possessions within the house, and the cost of removing that tree.
I was wondering if it's worth upgrading the insurance policy to cover the cost of materials and labor to rebuild your house in case of a fire on your homeowner's policy.
It's really important that at least once a year you get in touch with your insurance company to make sure your homeowner's insurance is up to date. One of the things that you want to ask about is Inflation Guard. And what this is it automatically adjusts the rebuilding cost to take into account fluctuations in the cost of labor and materials. Some insurance companies automatically include it. Others will charge a small supplement, but it's a very important insurance protection to have.
How do you know when you have enough insurance on your property, on your house, on your personal property, and how do you determine that?
The best way to properly insure your home is to contact your agent or company representative and ask them 3 questions. First of all, do I have enough insurance to rebuild my home? The second question is, do I have enough insurance to rebuy all of my personal possessions in the event of a fire or other disaster? And lastly, do I have enough liability protection in the event that I'm sued? if you ask those 3 questions, you can then work with your insurance professional to get the right coverage for you. You also need to note that 2 big disasters are not covered. One is flood and the other is earthquake. You can buy separate insurance for both of these disasters. So remember to talk to your agent about flood insurance and coverage for an earthquake.
I had a pipe burst in my kitchen, causing terrible flood damage throughout the kitchen and lower level of the house, and destroyed all the walls, pulled out carpet. I'm wondering if my insurance company is going to cover me.
Generally speaking, burst pipes are covered under standard home insurance policies. There is a requirement, though, that you've kept your pipes and your plumbing up to date and that you've maintained them. But if you've done basic maintenance and the pipes still burst, this is generally going to be covered under standard policies. What's not usually covered is if you've had a small little leak and you've neglected to take care of it, and that small leak has now caused significant damage. That is considered maintenance, and in most policies you're not going to be covered for that.
If I get a quote back from the insurance company that will not cover what my contract says the cost will be, what do I go to? Who do I go to then?
If your contractor gives you a dollar amount that's different from what your insurance adjuster said, first of all, go back to the insurance adjuster and tell them what your contractor said. You want to basically substantiate the reason for that dollar amount. If your adjuster still doesn't agree, then what you need to do is some research. Call a few more contractors, get a few more estimates, and then bring that information back to your insurance company. Insurance companies will work with you to satisfy your claim.